One of the ways that I work with my clients one-on-one, and one of the things that I will teach in my book, The Calm Code, and in my course, The Calm Code, which is really rooted in how to heal anxiety from within, is this concept of parts work. It's something that I'm trained in, and it is influenced by a therapeutic model known as internal family systems, which was developed by Dr. Richard Schwartz about 40 years ago. And at its fundamental core, parts work and internal family systems really believes that we are not a singular entity. So what does that mean? It means that we believe and we work with our clients from the idea point of view that we all have a part of us that is this self energy. It's what we lead with in our life. But as we've experienced situations growing up early on in life, different parts of us kind of emerge. So I often say that we shapeshift, or we self-abandon, or we fragment from ourself when we don't feel safe and we don't feel capable of dealing with whatever we think the threat is. And when we do that, we tend to develop a part of us that can help us in survival. So in that concept that the part is coming up in survival, we have lots of different parts. And I'm just going to talk about a few that are kind of global and universal. But the reality is we can have hundreds of parts, okay? But I'll just use ones that I see often that tend to resonate with people. You might have a people-pleasing part. You might have a perfectionist part, an overachieving part, a no boundary setting part, a workaholic part, an alcoholic part, a drug addiction part. You might have a suicidality part. We all have these different parts, and every single part has the same mission, which is to help you and to protect you. For me, I would say my ride or die at the control panel of my life, driving the bus of my life for 30 years was an anxiety part. It was an anxious part. And that part came up for me during a time when I did not know how to handle a situation that felt overwhelming. And in many cases, I didn't feel like I belonged. And in my nervous system, that left me feeling unsafe. And so this part kind of became my ride or die, very, very loyal companion. And its job was to scan for threat and to constantly be alert. Now, I didn't know that. I just thought that I had this sensation in my body that I couldn't stand, that I wanted to kick to the curb, that I hated. And so when I work with people who have anxiety, and this is what the course and the book are about, it's about understanding the whole arc of it, what trauma really is, how intergenerational trauma plays into it, what is the invisible backpack, what is the nervous system, what is the window of tolerance, and how do these parts and why do these parts come up? And how do we map and identify what those individual parts are for us? In the course, the people that are going to be taking this or the people that are going to be reading it probably have a heavy leading anxious part, because that's what it's about. And so we're going to really peel back the layers and start to recognize that you are not anxiety and that you are not an anxious person, that there is a part of you that is activated, that is the anxiety. And when we can start to see that, we can actually start to develop a different relationship with it. So usually the message that anxiety is trying to send us is you need to be on alert, or this may not be safe, or they may not like you. And if they don't like you, you're not going to be a part of. And if you're not going to be a part of, you don't belong. And remember, we have three very fundamental needs laid out by Maslow's hierarchy from many decades ago that show what we need. We need love and belonging. We need safety and security, and we need our physiological needs met. And those things influence things like our self-esteem and our self-actualization. So even feeling like you do not belong, or you're not a member of or part of a collective, whether it be within a friendship group or within your family system, that can feel like a threat to your needs not being met. Anytime a need is not going to be met, we must activate. That feels like a threat to our being. And so for me personally, anxiety became one of those big parts. So one of the things that I love to do with people who are really anxious is to get them to begin to relate to it differently. When they can understand parts work, and when they can understand that anxiety is merely a part, and they understand that all parts are benevolent, meaning all parts have a mantra of helping you in some way, shape, or form. We've got manager parts, and those mantras are never again, meaning never again am I going to let you feel A, B, C, or X, Y, Z. So shame, guilt, fear, sadness, abandonment, rejection. We'll just use those as an example. Another protector part might be known as a firefighter, and their job is to distract and soothe and numb if that feeling comes up. But ultimately, it's trying to help you. When you can start to understand that the part's job is to do something positive for you versus to destroy your life, which is how it felt like for me for 25, 30 years when I just couldn't get anxiety off my back, it shifts because then you're like, well, if this part is here to help me, then I don't really hate it and it doesn't create that conflict. I can have grace and compassion and understanding, build a different relationship with it. The part feels burdened. It's a very heavy responsibility to keep you safe all the time. And part of the reason why it's burdened with that responsibility is because it doesn't think that that self energy that I mentioned earlier is actually capable of keeping you safe. Without getting into too much of the detail, which we'll do in the course in the book, when we can get anxiety to actually trust yourself, the anxiety will start to tamper down. Your self then can lead a little bit more. And this is how we start to build a more symbiotic relationship with anxiety, and one that goes from conflict to compassion and curiosity. So this video is just a glimpse of some of the work that we'll do within the Calm Code. If you're ready to move from a state of survival to a state of safety and connection, join the waitlist right now. You can either comment below, click the link in the first pinned comment, or simply go to my website, which is flipyourmindset.com/the Calm Code.